Hi, I'm David. I've been studying relationships, dating, and the red pill for years, and I want to share with you what I've learned.
I don't know. I wanted to ask you, men don't come up and ask or talk to you anymore.
There's plenty of examples of women lamenting that men don't approach anymore, but they almost never ask why they don't approach anymore.
If anyone's wondering why we don't date, this is why. We're literally in the middle of the road changing a tire because her tire went flat immediately after the date.
I'm in the middle of nowhere. These guys keep driving by me as if I don't know all the lug nuts loose and I can't figure out where to put the jack.
We'll figure it out.
It's like they're completely unaware of the male experience of being demonized for everything. Why do women make videos like this?
An old man literally just stopped me and said, I don't mean to be rude, but you are absolutely gorgeous. And I looked at him and I was like, and I just turned around and I just find that so weird. Don't say that. That's just weird. Ew.
Social validation. Yes, a man will see this and think one thing, but in truth, she cares about the validation she's getting from other women online. It has almost nothing to do with the man himself. Why do women have seemingly infinite choices when it comes to men, but complain that there are no good men? Imagine you're a woman and your friend tells you she just installed Tinder and within 24 hours she got over 1,000 messages. She might think that she is the most beautiful woman to ever exist. And I know it's hard for men to imagine this, but this is what I call the hyper availability of men that modern women enjoy. No longer is she given the choice between a few men at her church. She's now choosing between all the men on earth. When presented with so much choice, women have an extremely hard time choosing. So what they do instead is date by committee. She'll send her friends your pictures and text messages, and she'll judge you. Not only that, but she's reinforcing in the back of their mind that no matter if she crashes and burns with you, another 1,000 guys are waiting in line. This is the hyper-availability of men. Throughout history, men have fought and died in wars. It's estimated that only a quarter of men that have ever existed have had children. Disease, war, famine, these have all claimed men's lives. So when Johnny came marching home, all the girls would swoon because there were just more women than men. In our modern day, women have too many options. So they are putting artificial constraints on men. You have heard of the devil's number 666. He's got to be 6 feet tall, have a six-pack, and a six-figure income. Look at this delusion calculator. If you're a woman and you think that you're a 10 out of 10, you'll start putting artificial constraints on men to limit your choices. That might look like raising your standards until you really only have a couple of choices.
I just had a guy ask me out on a coffee date. I'm sorry, I don't drink coffee, but even if I did, I wouldn't go on the date because I feel like I'm more of an investment.
Women have been pushed into traditional male spaces for decades. I think the total completion happened with Boy Scouts of America. There are no male spaces anymore. Even bathrooms are not considered spaces for men anymore. Women were propagandized with shows like Sex and the City to value casual hookups over starting and nurturing families. They took a page from pickup artist culture and hookup culture, and now they brag about how many men they slept with but didn't get a commitment from. By the way, this is a trope for men. Most men I have ever known have just wanted to start a family. Most men don't want to spend their lives just in the nightclubs and just pursuing women their whole lives. I think I'm biased, of course. I have a family, and since I started that family, I only really hang out with guys that also have families. But as a man, I just can't even imagine spending my whole life chasing tail. I mean, eventually every man has to ask himself what his purpose is. So now we understand why women are saying these things, but why are men afraid to approach? Well, I can think of a couple reasons. First of all, there is a fear of rejection. There's a chance, in fact, it's a good chance that you're going to get rejected. And this is a normal part of the male experience.
Yo, excuse me. You look so good from the back. I wanted to see you from the front.
Right.
What's your name?
You.
She's good.
No.
No?
Nope, girl, she's good. Have a good one, guys.
Hurt my heart.
I apologize. You'll grow
It's
up.
okay.
All right,
Have a good one.
Modern women can sometimes be cruel about this, where I feel like in the past, most women who have rejected me personally have been gracious and saying, thanks for the offer, but I'm not interested. The hardest part of rejection is exactly the reason you want it. So many men are just not willing to get rejected. So this whittles down your competition.
Guys don't approach girls at the bars anymore.
I do.
I think if you're going up to girls at the bar in the first place, whether you say hi, whether you say, can I buy you a drink, whether you use Nick's line, which is a great line, by the way,
Thank you.
I think you have a million times better of a shot.
Yeah, I mean,
Because you really don't have all that much competition because guys aren't going up to girls. It's not like 15 guys are going up to a girl in a night to tell her how pretty she is. She probably gets one a night.
If you can get over your fear of approaching women, you'll learn to be grateful that it's this way, because we are on the precipice of an evolutionary event where, unlike war, pestilence, famine, and disease, men and women are willingly removing themselves from the gene pool. The truth is, there's a good chance that your attempt to approach women will be mocked and ridiculed privately, at least, and at the worst, publicly.
Say that. That's weird. Ew.
But again, this is where we as men have to ignore the validation of women. There's a feeling that you as a man will give the girl an ick, that you are by your nature not good enough to approach women. Women will say things like this.
Girls getting the ick needs to be studied. I talk to women all day long, and when I tell you that I crack up at some of the shit that we say gave us the ick. Crisscross applesauce in bare feet and like held onto his foot while he was speaking, and I was like, immediately no.
But what we need is men to realize that this is performative. She's proving to other women how valuable she is as a woman. She's so selective that she can turn down men. This famous ick list seems just endless content slop, where women just say anything that can make them feel gross. But this is actually men's problem, as men internalize this propaganda. See, the algorithm makes this content slop rise to the top. And frankly, this is why I use these TikTok videos in my videos. We as men need to value ourselves. It is good and right that we have sexual feelings and we express them by expressing sexual interest in women. Finally, there's a real social consequence to approaching women. Not necessarily the approach, but the risk in false rape allegations, MeToo style sexual harassment allegations, and the final boss, the incredible bias against men in the court system. It's a scam, frankly. And for a woman, it can be the most profitable thing she ever does is divorce her husband. It's the golden parachute. So it follows that if these are the results, why start at all? I've heard divorce described as jumping out of an airplane with the 50% chance that your parachute will open. The results of divorce are catastrophic, so I think that's a good description of divorce. But you rarely hear how good a good woman and happy children can be for you. You come home from work and your little toddler runs up to you and yells, "Daddy's home." So if divorce is jumping out of an airplane with a parachute 50-50 going to open, then a happy marriage with beautiful children is winning the lottery. What I like best about this analogy is that you can improve your chances to be better than 50% by screening out bad women. And that's ultimately the hope of my channel, is to help men that want to have families find good women that will make that happen. But before men can screen women, they have to have optionality. And in order to have that, they must approach hundreds, if not 1,000 women. This action is necessary. Look, I'm not here to judge you. If you're going to go your own way and you want to avoid the insanity altogether, I don't blame you. But if your heart's greatest desire is to teach your sons to hate the federal government, then listen to the end of this video and I'll teach you what you need to achieve your goal. True mastery of dating doesn't come from a manual or a video. You're not going to be able to read yourself into becoming a pro at pickup any more than reading a book about bodybuilding will put muscle on you. At some point, the people who've written these books on dating and pickup, they learn these skills from somewhere and then they go write about them. They learn them by going out in the field and experimenting with what works. I'm not saying there's nothing to learn from the old pros, just the opposite. You should study game and learn the fundamentals of it. Those things won't change over time, but strategies do change over time. So what can we do? Your initial instinct maybe is to say, I need a looks max. I got to go to the gym. I got to get some muscle. I need to finance max and make a ton of money. Then I can go approach women. And I'm here to tell you this approach is all backwards. Here's why. You've correctly identified that you will be rejected if you're ugly and poor. But the important thing here is that you also need the skills to talk to women. And those skills take time to develop. You must work on your talking skills at the same time that you're losing weight, getting muscle, and making money, in that order. Go into the approach realizing that she will say no to you. And this can be fun too. If you know the answer is already no, there's no pressure to perform. So here's an example of how this can be fun. For example, if she says that, hey, I've got a boyfriend, you can reply with, well, me too, but I won't tell if you won't. Or she says, I've got a boyfriend, and you say, well, I've got a math test. She'll look at you confused. And then you'll say, oh, I thought we were just talking about things we cheat on. See, we can have fun with this pickup stuff, the type of stuff we talk with. You can learn these lines and have a great time. Remember, she has 1,000 other guys on her phone waiting for their turn. And she has to put up artificial blocks to keep all but the most assertive and persistent men away. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it though. Rejection is hard. Those first 100 women who about face and walk away from you are going to sting. So I recently read this book called The Dip by Seth Godin, who's probably the world's most famous marketer right now. But this book brilliantly captures the idea of that sting I mentioned, but he calls it the dip. The dip is the constraints, artificial or otherwise, that keep out those who aren't motivated enough to reach it. Why do doctors make so much money? And why does it take doctors decades and hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to become doctors? Because if everyone could take a 2-week course and become a doctor and make $400,000 a year, everyone would be a doctor. Society wants only the best and brightest and the most motivated to become doctors. So too is dating. Only the best, brightest, and most motivated will be able to have loving, stable, and rewarding families. The rest will become part of statistics. To summarize, mastery comes through rejection and not before. Approaching doesn't have to be high risk, high reward. I used to live in Spain as a missionary, and I discovered it is a lot easier to learn how to approach people when the stakes are low. One thing I used to do was go to the park. And every park in Spain, the elderly is sitting around or playing bocce ball. There are children running around it too. Of course, it's very idyllic. But I discovered that these two groups are very patient with you when you're a gringo trying to learn a foreign language. So the more time I spent loosening my tongue, the easier it got. I wasn't trying to convert them either. I would just ask them the best way to make Spanish tortillas, or what do you have to have in a paella recipe? So these people, it was a matter of national pride. They talk with you all day if you let them. They wanted to tell you how it's done and why it's done a certain way and how other countries got it wrong. And they love talking to me. And when you turn down the risk, you can start small, and then this effect compounds over time, and you'll get very, very good at talking in both Spanish and talking to people who instinct is to not want to talk to you. So it's the same with women. As many of you know, I'm a married man. I don't have any intention of changing that anytime soon. So would it behoove me to learn how to talk to women? The answer is yes. Not that I'm in the stage in my life where I'm looking for a partner, because the skill of talking to people is still valuable. Learning to strike up a conversation is useful in all walks of life. Have a new job interview? Chatting it up with the receptionist is a huge advantage. Are you community maxing? Learning to take interest in other people is a great way to grow your friend group. Men should know how to engage others in conversation. The other day I was in the store snack aisle and I saw a woman buying the generic brand chips. She was pretty attractive, but for me, I didn't have any dating interest in her or anything like that. My only intent was to practice my social skills. So I said, when did chips go so expensive? And we talked for a few minutes about the economy and which chip brands were her favorite. But there was no expectation here because I wasn't asking for a number. But I guarantee you, she would have given me her number had I asked for it. If you want to learn to speak Spanish, start by practicing with those who are low risk and working your way up. And if you want to learn to speak to hot women, you do the same. Let's take a look at this wheat waffles video.
500 approaches. Right off the bat, 100 didn't even let me utter my first word. They just kept walking like I didn't exist. I'm in a rush. I'm not interested. Random person distracting me, get out my face. Then, after that, the next 200 said they have a boyfriend after my first sentence. And whether they're telling the truth or not, it's irrelevant because, again, it's an instant rejection. So now I only had just 200 real conversations to work with. Of these, 100 or half were extremely dry and I knew it wasn't even worth asking for their number. Right. Oh my God. Wow. Sure. They gave one-word answers, low energy, asked no questions, and I could tell I was providing zero dopamine for them, and they're just waiting for the noise to end. This left me with just 100 serious conversations where they gave their number and the possibility it might lead somewhere. But of these, 50 didn't even respond to my first message. They just ignored it or didn't add me back on Instagram. And then, of the 50 that did message back, 40 maybe messaged for a little while, but soon fizzled out. They seemed interested at first before slowly dropping off prior to the first date. So, this left me with 10 dates. A big drop-off starting from 500.
After 500 approaches, he only got 10 dates. But in the end, you only need one date to go well and to find that special woman to fill the void in your life. Someone to be sexually intimate with, someone to start a family with. My final tip for you today is to approach women when they are rest, not when they are motion. What I mean by that is I've seen a lot of videos of guys walking in the streets to approach women. And this will work in enough volume, but sometimes women just have a place to be. She might be going to work or headed to meet her friends in a restaurant or whatever. The point is, the more strategic your venue, the more advantages you'll have. I'm going to describe a few places, and I want you to think which one would be better for striking up a conversation. So you're in line at a grocery store, or you're in the food aisle of that same grocery store. You're in a movie theater, or you're in an art show or a museum. You're walking down the street, or you're sitting on a park bench. You're at a dance club, or you're at a Frisbee golf club. You're in a church sermon, or in a volunteer group sponsored by your church. I'm not saying you can't approach women when they're busy doing something, but have realistic expectations about the responses you're going to get. I hope that helped. If you found any value in this video, please subscribe. Helps the channel grow. And if you think men are walking away from women, please neg on the like button. Thanks for watching. Take care.